Welcome to the Spaghetti Sessions, an exploration of the wild and wacky sci-fi universe created by Sam Marden. I'm your host, Paula Talesian, and today we are actually speaking with the creator of the Zoola universe, or Zoolaverse, as I like to call it. I'm not sure Sam likes me to call it that, but we just have to live with it. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me in this short run podcast of however many episodes we end up with. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, Zoola Monkey is a space monkey, and I should clarify for anybody who doesn't know this, these are a gang of puppets, alien puppets. They don't know they're puppets. I know, I'm sorry. Um, Alien characters portrayed through puppetry that you created 5 years ago. So we've just wrapped up your fifth anniversary celebrations and everything else. Where did Zoola come from? How did this start?
Zula's origins are actually as a mascot for a children's clothing company. So Zula was still an alien monkey, still looks as they are today, pretty much. And they had a certain amount of inquisitiveness, curiosity, while also approaching humanity with the arrogance you'd expect of a higher being. So in that sense, the Zulu that we know now was sort of always around, but they've just grown up a little bit from being a little picture that then became a little character that then turned into the self-obsessed, charismatic monstrosity that we know today.
And a clothing horse, because Zula has quite the wardrobe.
Absolutely, as befits an intergalactic superstar wannabe.
So, why puppets? Like you have a background in sewing, and so you've done a lot of work that I don't even comprehend because it's sewing and it's incredible, and you take flat things and make them 3D. So, what sort of drew you to doing puppets?
Well, it started during lockdown, and everyone got a little bit crazy. But if you're someone who's creative, that was like, wow, this is the moment I've been waiting for all my life. I'm never going to get bored. And it got me thinking about Zula that already existed and exploring them. But the very real problem I had was that under lockdown, getting hold of materials was kind of tricky because it was the start of lockdown, posting and receiving packages and what companies were still working and what were shut down. So there wasn't really any way that I felt I could bring Zula to life that sort of that I could do. Like I can't draw, but I can sew.
Mhm.
So in that sense, if I wanted to bring Zula to life and very much hide myself, a puppet was only the only option, really.
Is it so very different creating a puppet to creating like a dress or a shirt or whatever? Like,
Not really. No, the only difference in that sense is that Zula has like a skeleton, really, I guess, in that there's a foamy layer that always sounds gruesome that their skin goes on. But the basic principles are the same. The way the skull is made and the fabric that goes over it is the same principles as the shirts that Zula wears, really.
okay, so it's like draping fabric over a 3D person or object and making it look good.
Yeah,
Okay.
basically,
It
yeah.
I'm wincing. I think you can't see us, but we're both kind of wincing because it's hard to talk about this group as puppets. It really is because you brought them to life so beautifully. They all have their own personalities. And maybe we can sort of introduce each one. And I always forget them. So can you list the whole gang? I always leave somebody out and I would feel horrible if I did that again.
So we've got Zula, the self-obsessed space monkey. We've got Kure, the alcoholic space cat. We've got Blettin, the blissfully ignorant space chicken. We've got Raz, the floofy psychopathic space worm. We've got Tipo, who is Zula's deeply depressed younger sibling. We've got Dead Carl, who is a human, but as the name suggests, they are a reanimated corpse, obviously. And the newest member of the gang is Uzed, who is a floofy space parasite. Oh, and occasionally the human crops up.
Yes, yes. The human is portrayed by you, but hapless and
Worryingly true to life from time to time.
so your children's mascot has become now the gang of space aliens for adults. And I don't mean adults like after dark kind of thing, but just that it's more for an older crowd because there's a lot of swearing and there's a lot of innuendo and everything else going on.
Yeah, yeah, adult themes.
Yeah. Yeah, and your audience is definitely not kids, although sometimes they wander into the lives.
Yeah, sometimes they wander in, but I think the funny thing about them, I would say, is that although they are for adults, they very much bring out a childishness, I think, in the adults that follow them and interact with them.
Yeah, I would agree because I've been following you for 5 years, and we've been interacting obviously off the lives and everything else. And it does give your group gives adults a permission to play, which I think we're really lacking. We've been told grow up and act your age, not your shoe size, and all of that. Not European shoe sizes, but North American ones. And and just like, be mature. And you give us, your followers, a chance to be immature, to be 8-year-old boys with the innuendos and the dick jokes and everything else that goes on. So how do you feel about where Zula started versus where they are now?
I sort of didn't see it coming in any way because I think that that's something that when I resurrected Zula, that's something that I probably was telling myself that I have to be a grown up. My job before the pandemic was a very responsible grown up one. I was, at the top of the adulting game. And I do wonder a little bit if the journey Zula has taken is as much me giving permission to myself to not take things seriously.
Okay, so you've given yourself the permission to not take things seriously, which I think is really good. I think people lost their heads in the pandemic a lot. I don't know about in the UK, but I'm pretty sure it happened there too. Most people went and made bread to the point where finding
Yeah.
yeast and flour and all of that was next to impossible. It was hard enough to get groceries as it was, but good luck trying to get flour. And so you turn to creating a universe. Sci-fi is interesting, and I appreciate it because I'm a giant nerd. When with the sci-fi that you're doing, you do a lot of nods to the subgenres and the various stories and things that are in the popular culture in the zeitgeist. Like I've seen you do nods to What We Do in the Shadows with your documentary crew, and little nods here and there, like Star Wars. Well, that's not a little nod; that's a giant, huge slap in the face type of thing. So clearly you are a nerd as well. Was sci-fi sort of the given when you were creating this gang and creating these stories?
Yeah, I am a huge nerd, yes. And throughout my life, I've always liked sci-fi because there's something about it that's always so familiar, but at the same time, you're only hindered by what you can possibly imagine. And there's something about these whole spectacular worlds, whether it's Star Trek or Star Wars or Alien, all of these things that somehow are still just about how humans react in weird situations. And in that sense, I don't think Zula would like me to say this, but in that sense, Zula is sort of quite human and sort of reflecting that. But basically, I was never going to write romance. It was always going to be something that I knew, I guess. And being a giant nerd, that's sci-fi.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I have to call you out on the romance because we did have a wedding last year.
Yeah, we had a romance. It wasn't a very romantic romance. It's become more romantic. It was quite visceral to begin with, if that's the word. But yeah, somebody, yeah, made a suggestion that a very brief interaction in one of the videos between two characters was perhaps something more. And then before you know it, we have a wedding.
It was a lot of fun though, right? It took up, several
It
months of
was.
last year.
It was, and it transformed the characters. Some people are calling for a divorce quite loudly, but that's not going to happen. But yeah, it was remarkable. I didn't know it was going to happen, but I'm very glad it did. They've just celebrated their 1 year anniversary by renewing their vows, and they're literally living happily ever after as as an idiot and a psychopath. I mean, devoted to each other for who they are. That's living the dream, I think.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's an ideal romance in so many ways. They're not changing themselves to be who they're not. So
Mm,
yeah, it's really interesting. So, as a writer, you have produced hundreds of storylines, hundreds of, and clearly you're not going to remember everything that you've done. But in the beginning, when you launched Zula onto TikTok and all of that, you were doing like 5 or 6 videos a day, 5 days a week or 6 days a week or whatever, like a crazy amount. It's obviously
yeah.
slowed down now because that was insane. But do you find yourself short of stories? Do you find yourself struggling to come up with stuff, or does it just flow at this point because your creativity is a well-exercised muscle?
I think it's probably a couple of things. I think on one hand, I have so many characters and so many possibilities that they can sort of produce endless variations. There's always something that'll crop up, something someone will say on a live stream that might just make me think, oh, that could be worth exploring. But on the other hand, I think in terms of creativity itself, the other part of it is that you have to make the time to not to be receptive, but sort of to be able to act on it, if that makes sense. You have to be in a position where you can sort of regularly put pen to paper and see it through.
I'm thinking about like what a day in your life looks like when you're writing, you're performing, you're filming, you're editing, you're scheduling posts, you're responding to people, you're creating merch. I'm assuming you're not doing all of that in one day, but what sort of does an average day look like to you?
Well, there aren't many average days, if that makes sense. I think the key thing that I've learned about myself creatively is that creativity is kind of messy. And like I've just said, some of it is about making the space to be able to do whatever inspires you in that moment. So I'm quite lucky, and like you just said, there's lots of different facets to what I do. So if it turns out that at the start of my day I'd intended to sit and write the next 4 episodes of something, if I sit down and I get the curse of the blank page, then that's okay. I can edit something I recorded previously, or I can, make that image that I need to do that newsletter. You know what I mean? And then I can come back when I'm suitably inspired to do that bit of writing. It's quite nerve-wracking to know you've got to sit and produce something and be able to say, no, if it's not coming, I'm going to go and do something else now. But it hasn't failed me yet.
Productive
But
procrastination.
yes.
Yeah.
But that's why there sort of aren't any ordinary days. There's just any combination of writing, recording, editing, brainstorming. There's an awful lot of gazing into the middle distance that I have to keep a careful control on. Otherwise, I end up vanishing down thought rabbit holes. But yeah, generally speaking, every day is a little bit varied and anything could happen.
If somebody came to you and asked you a question, and they're not hostile, obviously, what question do you wish somebody would ask you about your creations, about your, I don't know, about the gang, about your day-to-day life, about anything? What would be something that you wish somebody would ask?
Ah, that is a really good question. I need a really good answer. I, in a funny way, I guess I would like someone to ask me about whether I'm scared about doing all of this still after 5 years. Like it's the Sam I am now is completely unrecognizable to 5 years ago. The idea that I'll not really think anything of live streaming or of recording videos and putting myself on a not just one platform, on several platforms that any number of people could stumble across. But it doesn't mean the fear completely goes away. It just means that you sort of factor it in a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would sort of, I guess I sort of want to have a conversation about how it is terrifying. Creativity is terrifying. Showing up is terrifying, but ultimately how anybody can do it if they stick at it.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of vulnerability required in creating something that is yours. You're not doing anything derivative and then showing it to the world. There's a whole lot of vulnerability in that. So it does make sense that it is terrifying. And that's a good lesson for anybody who's listening who might be thinking about doing something and they look at Sam and Zula and the gang and think, "Oh well, she has it easy." She's been doing it, looks no problem, but they don't see the battles in the back, behind the scenes.
Yeah, and also I would say the whole 5 years is this constant cycle of just getting used to something, just finding your footing, and then something changes. Either it stops working for the platform you're using, or you get bored of it, maybe, or you're just tired of something. And it's a constant cycle of sort of getting comfortable and then busting it apart.
Yeah. Well, creativity does require variety as well, right? If you get stuck in a rut, even doing what you're doing, I think you'd end up just creating the same stuff over and over again. And we see this on a lot of the sci-fi shows and movies and stuff where they just rehash the same shit over and over again. So busting it up is really good.
Yeah, like marrying two characters.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. What was the exploring the theme of being afraid to show up, obviously as much as you're willing to share, what was the hardest thing you ever had to do in this business, in this empire that you've been creating, galactic empire?
Far and away the hardest part, and still the hardest part, is being live in any capacity. Because I think because, like I said before, old Sam is unrecognizable, but old Sam never said the first thing that came into her head. But Zula has to, the gang have to be spontaneous and amusing. And there's sort of all the things that, if I'm honest, I'm not. Not unless I write it and work on it and plan on it. So in that sense, going live, I'm never sure what they're going to say. It's like giving yourself over to the chaos. And sometimes it will be something really funny, but there's always the risk that it might be something that gets you permanently banned.
Which you've been twice.
Which, yes, I've been banned. But oddly enough, none of the bans were actually for doing anything wrong. If that's, I think that's the strangest thing. They misinterpreted. They had no nuance and no context.
Mhm.
And they were just automatic reactions. But yeah, that is sort of the thing that every time I go live, at the back of my mind, I'm like, is this going to be the last one? Is this genuinely going to be the last time? And I think also that talking about the fear like that, it makes it very obvious why I use puppets, because there's always just that little bit of something to hide behind.
hmm Even when you show up, you're not showing up as you, Sam. You're showing up as the hapless human.
It's always the human, and I don't think that that's anything particularly unusual with anybody who does anything that's, comedic or trying to make someone laugh. Like, everybody has a persona. The human is a little bit too close to home sometimes. She is a bit hopeless. But yeah, even then I get to hide behind the human.
Yeah. What I found interesting is how you've blossomed in the last probably year and a half, maybe 2 years. Like you've just completely gone from where you were to where you are now. And what I mean is you swore up and down there'd be no singing, right? And a
Yeah,
few other things. But I want to talk about the singing because I think that that was a surprise to both of us,
yeah.
how well it went over, but how amazing you are at writing songs.
Well, yes, it was a huge revelation for everybody involved. And like everything else with Zula, it started very small, very limited, in the very first couple of things were just little songs to say thank you to people for subscribing. So it was just really simple. And now they've sprawled into these quite long parodies of very well-known songs that basically involve any one of the gang saying any amount of really awful things. We have terrifying love songs. We have attractions to inanimate objects. There's an awful lot of innuendo. It is quite fun. It's more fun to write them than it is to perform them because, well, because I'm not a singer.
Apparently you are.
But apparently I am. I think when when I do do songs live and I mess it up, which happens a lot, it really used to bother me at first because I was like, oh, it's got to be perfect, right? It has to be perfect. I'm trying to do a song. I can't sing. I've got to do it as good as I can do it. But actually realizing that I think people enjoy it more when I get it wrong, when I'm not in the right key, when I can't find the words, when the music started playing before I'm ready, when I miss the cue. Yeah, those are all things that help, I believe. But yeah, it is a lot of fun to write them because sometimes it just all falls into place. The right song seems to fit with the right words somehow, and it's just like it's some sort of divine intervention that it just all slots together so nicely.
Yeah, I'm impressed that not only do you have, what is it, 7 characters now? They all have different voices, and you sing in their voices. And they all have different songs that they're strong at because they all have different keys or octaves that their voices settle at, which is like an incredible feat. That's got to be like so unique.
It might be unique, but it's really, really troublesome because there are so many songs now that I don't remember. Like, some of them are sort of specific to some characters, but I sort of don't remember which ones suit who best. So Like Zula's voice is much higher than mine, and Tipo's voice is a bit lower than mine, and everybody else is somewhere around the middle. And some songs don't give you very much warning before you've just got to jump in and sing. And oh, it's a recipe for chaos.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the different voices certainly do make it fun.
Fun for the audience, at least. The other thing
Yeah.
I want to talk about are the books you've released. Now, I think you've got eight out or nine. I've lost count, and I'm the one working on them. So
I think it's eight.
eight plus the ninth we're working on right now.
Is it
Sleigh. So there's six sleighs, a coloring book, and intergalactic geographic. So it's got to be eight.
eight? Yes. So
Yeah.
yeah, nine that you've
Yeah.
had a sneak preview of already.
Yeah. Wow. So I know that that's kind of more my thing because I'm a book nerd and everything else, and I kind of shoved you into it, but it was a really fun exercise.
It was one of those things that I'm not sure I would have considered it obvious on my own, but once we started the first sleigh, it sort of fitted the gang like a glove. Like of course, knowing what they're like, why wouldn't you want a sort of mock hello lifestyle magazine with an alien take on it?
It was just a hell of a lot of fun, right? Like just this trashy sort of, stories and just fake advice from a drunken cat, space cat, and yeah.
I think it's because the agony aunt thing, everybody has encountered an agony aunt column at some point, even if it's just like in the dentist waiting room or something and you've picked up a magazine. But so many of these magazines are pretty awful and kind of toxic, like the way they look at things and look at people and judge. So if we're going to judge, let the judgiest beings in the whole galaxy take their turn on judging.
I think the Slay series is really good, but the intergalactic geographic one, I think that's where you, as a writer, shone. You created all these backstories for your characters, all the locations, like just the history, their lore. Lore is the word I was looking for, and all that. How did that feel when you got all of that out? Were you expecting to produce that much?
No is the short answer. I wanted to do it because it felt like since since Bettin and Raz got married, it felt like we needed to explore more of everybody's background. We needed to get better glimpses. And so I wanted to do it just to set some things straight in my head, if nothing else. But it sort of opened the floodgates to to all of the weirdness that is in Intergalactic Geographic. And it wasn't that I ran out, it was that I literally had to stop myself. Otherwise, I wouldn't get anything else done. I would just be writing this massive book for months. I'd still be doing it. But it was a lot of fun because it it also allowed a certain amount of sort of backwards engineering
Mhm.
to make it seem like some of the things that we know now, some of the things that we've done in escape rooms or that we've had songs about, to sort of make it seem that they actually come from their cultures, like all their people's creation myths and things like that. And it's also just thrown a few seeds of uncertainty for what characters have done in their past, for other members of their families. Yeah, it was, I think joint favourite with the wedding edition of Slay so far, for being books that I see them sat on a coffee table and they look so real.
Well, they technically are real, but yes, they're
Yeah.
parodies. So yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Like the one that I love putting together the most because it was the most unhinged in my mind was the Christmas sleigh, which featured your dad as Santa. doing a
Yes.
striptease throughout the whole book and putting all the little Easter eggs in and the little stories with the characters behind going on in the imagery that, if somebody was paying attention, they could see that I was, telling little jokes with the characters behind the scenes. It was so much fun. And then I met your dad in person. It's just
Yes.
that was an experience. I mean, he's a sweetheart, right? But I just finished putting together a book where he's doing a striptease as Santa, as Father Christmas. So
Difficult to look him in the eye.
it was. It was absolutely, but yeah, I think we have a lot of fun with those books. And I think the whole universe that you've created it's very rich, and with the lore more thoroughly defined, I think the stories that have come out since like July or even June have a depth to them too, because you've gotten things straight in your head. When we were
Mm.
producing Intergalactic Geographic, I was going to say National Geographic, Intergalactic Geographic, so that it's almost like there's this extra layer now of richness, and that's a really wonderful thing. It was a really good project to work on for you as a writer.
Yeah, I think considering the gang have been around 5 years, it almost seems kind of weird that you think, well, if I really had known someone for 5 years, then I'd probably have some sense of, not just like whether or not they're an alcoholic, but this sense of what they do for a living or did for a living. I might, vaguely know about any siblings that they have, or if, for instance, their planetary system that they live in had been ravaged by a brutal war, then I might know a little bit more about what they did in that war and things like that. So yeah, it feels like having known the gang 5 years, they've got to give up a few secrets.
So we're going to wrap this episode up, talking with the creator of Zula and the wacky Zulaverse, with just anything else that you'd like to share with us. What's coming up? What's going on? Can you give us some secrets? And yeah.
Well, one of the things that's been running on for quite a few months now is this mysterious character called the Empress, who keeps threatening to make an appearance, and who, if you have read Intergalactic Geographic very carefully, you will sort of know who they are, while also not really knowing who they are. And I have fully intended to do the whole Empress storyline about 10 times this year. But something else just keeps cropping up. And that's sort of like the curse of having this gang that wants to pull me in so many different directions now. But we are going to find out about the Empress. And can't forget murder mystery. That's
My favorite.
At this point in time, no one even remembers who was murdered, let alone why. But that will, I think, be coming to an end this year, maybe,
Amazing. Amazing. We'll finally get a resolution or not.
or not.
I think Murder Mystery is your longest running series, because the first one ran for, what was it, 160 some odd episodes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it ran for that, and then there was a Christmas version. I think there was only one Christmas version. There might have been two. I'm not sure. But I think what I like about murder mystery is that on the one level, you have your actual Agatha Christie style whodunit, but at the same time, the gang are themselves playing the characters in the whodunit. So it's no wonder it takes that many episodes just to spit out who did it.
Yeah. And they break the fourth wall quite frequently too. And you're like 49 episodes into this series of murder mystery. So that's well over 200 episodes. So it's got to be your longest running in all of the 5 years.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I have a lot of affection for what they go through. Uh, and I think this murder mystery, this particular series of it, tried to add that bit more depth. But again, it's the way it's adding, is, you know, is it adding depth to the story of the murder mystery, or is it adding depth to the gang playing the characters in the murder mystery? Yeah, it's no wonder it's taken so many episodes. It really is that confusing.
even for the writer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to thank you for shedding some light on what you do, Sam, and the characters you've created and the world you've created. It's been a fun and entertaining 5 years, and here's to the next 5 years. Congratulations on sticking around this long. Lots of people put their COVID bread down and went back to work.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure doing anything with you, whether it's a sleigh or whether it's this. It's fun.
Yeah, it is absolutely fun. And for more episodes of the Spaghetti Sessions, you can follow us on Spotify or check out episodes. They'll be released also on the Zoola Monkey website, zoolamonkey.com, Zoola monkey.com. And we will be talking to the various characters and members of the gang over the next several episodes. So prepare for some unhinged backstories and commentary, and I don't even know what because we haven't recorded it yet.